viewers, welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be about Xena and whether or not you might consider getting her. She costs $40 and the event is almost over, so is it worth it to you? First off, Xena is not a top tier champion, but she is very good situationally. And if say you're a low spender and don't have a lot of great damage champions, she may be a good option for you. I'll show you my numbers at the end on how I have fared since picking her up. So, she's good in arena versus support with 2 or more team buffs. So that's Siphi. Siphi's A2 has 3 buffs. Xena will cut right in and go. And I use her almost every time versus Siphi. She pairs very well with Ultimate Death Knight because he also counters Siphi really well, so if you have them two together, then you have a Siphi counter in there. She is good against Lady Kimmy. With Kimmy's increased accuracy and increased speed buff, she'll often force Lady Kimmy to use the decreased accuracy, decreased speed, and that may not be ideal in the first round. She's excellent against Elva, who has speed, block debuffs, and cleanse, so that will push her first before the other team players. And then also Elva has that perfect veil that she'll put on other champions, and with all the AoEs that Xena has, she can pretty much hit through that. She's good against Duchess, but Duchess's mitigation is pretty strong against her. She can hit kind of like a Void, and she can hit Duchess pretty well. She is good against Mithrala Lifebane. So how Xena works in the team is she either cuts in when they buff, or they skip buffing around, which is not ideal. So Xena's passive fills her turn meter by 100% and buffs her when the opposing team gets 8 or more buffs. So that's a champion that buffs 2 at a time or more. And this basically gives her an extra turn if it's at the beginning. It may not always give her an extra turn. If she's just gone, she may not get an extra turn. But it works very well. You can cut in and kill their damagers. Then she has 2 AoEs, and one, her A3 resets itself if she kills 2 or more, and she ignores 10% of the target's defense for each buff. The A2, she only ignores 5% of the target's defense for each buff, but she also steals some turn meter, and if they've just buffed, it's guaranteed. The A1 is a double hitter, and it also ignores some defense for each buff, and it ignores shield. So her kit is very useful. She is kind of good against Taurus's passive. Taurus's passive being that he, when attacked, decreases the enemy's attack by 10%, and she increases her attack when she uses skills. She's not a survivable damager like Taurus, Rhodos, Harima, but the cut mechanic is useful. So Taurus is very difficult to kill. He can stay alive. Xena, her cut mechanic, she can cut in and get a hit before she gets killed, but she does get killed. Rhodos, you have to use multi-hitters or you trigger his attacks. Harima, she has the mitigation of ignore defense, and she's a defense-based champion, so she helps her team and herself. Xena's also not a top-tier pure damager like Baron, who had Skypiercer changed to an active skill rather than a hidden skill. So he ignores shield buffs, block damage buffs, as well as 50% of the target's defense. She's not like Georgid, who has a 50% chance to ignore defense, who can ignore unkillable, who has a big hit and places unkillable. She's not like those two. So between November 30th, when I got her, and January 22nd, my live arena numbers are at a decent sample of 100 battles since acquiring her. In those 100 battles, I've used her in 51 and did not use her in 49. When I've used her, I've won 59% of my battles, versus when not using her, I've won 55%. And that's similar to prior to getting her, I won 55%. So I do have a measurable advantage using her. In any case, I hope you enjoyed the video, and take care.